Hello everyone. Group 8 is happy to present the concept and technologies that provide supply chain automation to organizations on a global scale. In today's increasingly competitive business landscape, it is imperative that organizations take measures to maximize efficiencies while eliminating wasteful and archaic tactics that cost their companies money. An evolving trend that we have recognized and will share with you today is the concept of supply chain automation, and specifically a vendor managed inventory, or VMI, solution currently on the market. We will also share the benefits it can provide by enhancing a company's operations and relationships with its suppliers. We will also take a look at some of the challenges businesses face across all organizations, big and small, domestic and international. Globally, millions of organizations spend billions of dollars per year on supply chain logistics. Supplies, parts, materials, and equipment are typically distributed through storerooms, tool cribs, and supply cabinets. Three main inefficiencies in this system that can hurt your bottom line. Let's take a look at them one-on-one. Waste, for many organizations, happens between 25 and 50% of item reduction through theft, misuse, hoarding, or loss. This waste translates into a huge loss annually, and one that can seem impossible to manage and control. The next one is proximity, which is the physical distance between supplies and the location where the supplies are used. All the time spent walking and waiting for a supply or parts result in hours of lost productivity. Again, this waste translates into a huge loss annually. And the final inefficiency is cash flow. A lot of organizations carry too much stock on hand in an attempt to overcome waste and proximity problems. Carrying a lot of inventory can improve some of the problems, but it creates another big problem. Too much cash becomes tied up in overstocked inventory sitting in warehouses and backrooms where they're becoming obsolete. Before we focus on technologies of today and the future, let's take a look at how we got where we are today. Managing supply chains is not a new concept. However, new technologies have introduced new opportunities to better streamline supply chain operations. Dating back to the 1960s, the advent of computerized applications, more specifically electronic data interchanges, or EDI, began to automate routine transactions like purchase orders, invoices, and receipt notices. EDIs enable supply chains to run faster, cheaper, and better, opening the door to a wave of future supply chain automations through technology. After EDI came web-enabled systems like Enterprise Resource Planning Platform, or ERP for short. Web-enabled systems allow users to reduce inventory, lower supply chain costs, improve delivery date accuracies, and improve overall supply chain performance. Combining integration with EDI and ERP systems creates the ideal supply chain system where companies gain visibility into orders and shipments from both a customer and supplier perspective. EDI has produced such concepts as just-in-time delivery, or JIT, and again vendor-managed inventory, VMI, which we will focus on. VMI unites suppliers and companies through the sharing of information. VMI creates a scenario where stockouts are unlikely and investment in excess inventory is reduced. In essence, VMI reduces waste, addresses proximity concerns by placing things users need at the point of work, and by improving cash flow. But don't take our word for it. Here's a real-life example of what customers have had to say regarding their implementation of vendor-managed inventory in their operations. A leading machinery and equipment manufacturer stated that previously they had limited control and accountability with regard to supply usage. They knew there was waste, but without a solid reporting system in place, it was difficult to identify. In addition, the procurement process involved layers of staff involvement and inefficiencies. The solution was to implement technology in their supply chain, specifically a VMI program which combined hardware and cloud-based software. There are a number of supply chain automation providers on the market today. Some industry leaders include SupplyPro in the industrial manufacturing space, UCAPIT in the emergency medical services industry, and Apex Supply Chain Technologies, which excels across multiple verticals globally. For the purpose of our presentation, we will focus our attention on Apex and its cloud-based trajectory software that brings distributors and end users into a closely knit relationship. One organization solved the aforementioned problems through installing the combination of supply chain automated hardware and cloud-based software solutions, where customers now have a more efficient way to distribute and account for their high-use MRO and PPE supplies. Machines were strategically placed throughout the production floors to provide high-use consumables and PPE closer to the point of use, improving productivity. The local distributors have taken on the responsibility of managing the inventory and refilling the machines. The requisition process has been streamlined. Instead of having multiple departments ordering and carrying their own supplies, there is now one streamlined procedure, one main stocking area, and confidence that supplies will always be available when needed with no paperwork or labor required by plant personnel. Organizations that have implemented supply chain automation solutions realize real savings immediately. As one safety coordinator stated, there are unquantifiable time savings and hard-numbered dollar savings. Traceability and accountability are key. One director of purchasing stated, "Our usage is down because it makes people think before taking product. It's working out well. That's why we're getting another one." And finally, another director of purchasing said, "It saved a lot of time for the purchasing department and plant management. The entire requisition process has been cut significantly. We've gone from 64 purchase orders a month to one, and we saved $20,000 in the first 6 months." But the question remains, how are the results achieved? Results are achieved through real-time, on-demand data that creates supply chain automation. Simply put, Apex's cloud-based software Trajectory does the real work. The system knows what's in the device, who can access what, and when restock is necessary. Between the software and the machine, it's possible to have 24/7 control over inventory and visibility of supply flow, usage, and patterns. Suppliers know what's been used, and reordering is automated and streamlined. Companies can get a micro view at the employer department level or get a macro view at the enterprise level.
Though there are many benefits to cloud-based supply chain management, there are also a number of disadvantages. In general, cloud-based services represent a great innovation for businesses, but this does not mean that every business should immediately switch over. Whether cloud-based supply chain management makes sense depends on the size of the business as well as other needs. The first disadvantage is conversion challenges. Companies seeking to switch to cloud-based supply chain management may find that the service does not necessarily integrate smoothly with their existing IT structures and portfolios, and may not allow customization. Successful use will hinge on what the company already uses and how it integrates with the cloud. Problems could arise if they clash and disrupt normal operations and services. For example, a document created with one application previously may not open in a cloud application. Second, compromised data safety. The chances that others are able to access private supply chain information increases noticeably when using cloud-based services. Businesses that use this service open themselves up to security problems by using internet-based software because risks about who can see data and what they might do with it can never fully be guaranteed against. The larger the company, the higher security risks tend to be. Number 3, potential loss of control. When information is stored and managed in the cloud, there is a loss of control that occurs. Number 4, costly training. Implementation and regular use of advanced technological applications will require companies to expend time and money on training and educating staff, particularly those who have long histories with traditional resource planning tools. The fifth disadvantage is vulnerability to service outages. Heavy reliance on the internet for supply chain needs implies that any disturbances or outages will threaten companies' ability to operate. If an internet-related disruption comes at a time when a business really needs access, and this could compromise operations and profit somewhat. For example, time-sensitive orders need to be made but have to be held off until internet problems are resolved. Number 6, non-depreciating subscription costs. Physical hard drives and storage capacities have the advantage of their costs depreciating over time. By contrast, cloud-based service subscriptions would not depreciate, and businesses would lose out on this financial benefit. Number 7, regulation compliance constraints. Converting to the cloud may cause regulatory issues to arise due to the fact that many legal and environmental laws are not written in consideration of the intricacies of modern cloud-based applications. Number 8, loss of IT competencies. Increased and regular reliance on cloud-based service will diminish businesses' needs for in-house IT competencies. This amounts to a loss of knowledge and skill in this specialized area, which could hurt other needs of the business or serve as a backup in the event of an outage. The ninth disadvantage that we found concerns latency. Supply chain functions operating within the cloud are at the mercy of latency, which is the time it takes a computer to respond to cloud services. High traffic times will produce high levels of latency and slow down operations. Number 10, high dependency on service provider. Storing so much data and relying on a cloud system so heavily for so many important supply chain and inventory needs changes the dynamic of how businesses operate. Becoming heavily dependent on any third party increases the vulnerability of the business and diminishes its autonomy. And finally, number 11, low support levels. Cloud-based supply chain management will not come with a lot of technical support. If a problem needs to be solved, businesses may be forced to wait for an email response or comb through user help forums. Companies that can offer customer support teams will charge more for this service.
Given this combination of tremendous opportunity and the concerns noted above, how have supply management professionals responded to the promise of cloud-based solutions? A 2013 survey of logistics professionals, conducted as part of the Logistics Management Technology Usage Study, indicates that over half have either adopted or are considering adopting cloud computing. However, with less than 20% already having adopted it, almost 14% saying it is not an option, and more than 25% not even sure of their firm's position, this survey also indicates considerable variation in attitudes toward the cloud. Part of this variation is attributable to the fact that some supply chain management functions are better suited to the cloud than others. In general, this is largely determined by whether or not the value of network effects exceed the sensitivity of data sharing. Not surprisingly, this has led to uneven rates of cloud use growth among supply chain management functions. For example, of new sourcing and procurement applications, transportation management systems, and global trade management systems, over 50% are being provided via the cloud. By contrast, while warehouse management systems and some supply chain planning systems are also seeing growth in cloud applications, they continue to lag functions such as those noted above. While cloud solutions for supply chain management functions are proliferating rapidly, they remain far less prevalent than on-premise software use. One factor affecting the rate of transition to cloud-based supply chain management software is the use of comprehensive enterprise resource planning systems. In this area, SAP is the overwhelming market leader, followed by Oracle. However, while numerous smaller providers offer at least some degree of public cloud service, the larger providers remain primarily focused on on-premise solutions, with their internet-based offerings largely limited to a private cloud model. The comprehensive nature of ERP systems, combined with the fact that they are generally built in stages, further hinders their transition to the cloud. The more extensive the ERP system, the greater the challenge of such a transition. Ironically, this has facilitated a much more rapid transition to cloud-based systems in parts of the world that did not already have extensive investment in on-premise systems.
What is the future of this technology? It is evident that companies are recognizing that supply chain excellence can provide a competitive advantage in the industry. Everyone is looking for a faster, more efficient way of managing the flow of goods through the system. The future of supply chain management is centered on automated solution software used in conjunction with the IT department. Cloud computing is a fairly newer technology with no limit to how successful it could become. It is undeniable that this could drastically reshape how computing power is sourced and managed, how information is controlled, and how important IT-based solutions are becoming in the evolution of the supply chain. Up until today, cloud computing was used mostly as a means to improve the efficiency of the IT department. In the years to come, companies will use this technology to focus on innovation for new competitive offerings in so many ways. With the multiple advantages in cloud computing, such as cost efficiency, unlimited storage, and easy access to information, companies can launch their infrastructure quickly without sinking into a huge amount of debt. Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP system, is software that companies can use to store and manage data through all levels of the supply chain. It is likely that many companies will move their entire ERP system over to cloud computing, or cloud ERP, to create a more efficient management system. Since cloud systems allow all data of a company to be stored together, it would be easier to access the information and transfer it if needed. Anytime new features or upgrades are developed, cloud will update with the changes automatically, saving time, costs, and effort. It is estimated that more than 2% of companies have moved their information over to cloud ERP systems already, and close to 47% plan to integrate the new technology within the next 5 years. Apple's iCloud for electronic devices was the first technology used for mobility. This will come to be very common for business use through the delivery of new cloud applications, workloads, and processing data, which can be accessed directly from an employee's phone. This will change the way organizations communicate internally through the different levels of the supply chain. It is estimated that more than half of all information technology for both domestic and international use will be using cloud computing within the next 5 to 10 years. The worldwide public cloud market, which is defined as a service provided by the web with users having little or no control over the technology infrastructure, has grown from $91 billion in 2011 to $109 billion in 2012. According to Gartner Research, this technology is likely to double to over $200 billion by 2016. Security will continue to be a priority for cloud computing. How can public information stored in the cloud system and controlled by a third party be secure? Companies and users are concerned that having all of their information in one place is increasing the risk of an informational breach. However, cloud systems can be secure. Here's a list of steps to improve the security and privacy of this technology for the future. First, the use of data encryption. Experts are devising new features and plans to integrate data encryption for information to the cloud. Software such as Vormetrics Enterprises will deliver multiple services, including preventing cloud administrators' visibility into your private data, security intelligence, which will recognize any attempt or threat that has been made, and overall protecting against any breaches internally and externally. Second, choosing private or hybrid options over the public cloud. The public cloud's infrastructure is shared between many organizations, which can increase the security risk of the data. Private cloud allows data to be delivered over a private network, and hybrid cloud provides the security of private clouds with the cost effectiveness of the public cloud. Each company can choose whichever cloud option will best benefit their business. And third, identity management. An increase in IDM security to ensure the right user is able to gain access to the stored data. Organizations can limit access to employees based on their applications, system, or data depending on their specifications. The future of cloud computing is very promising, but there are ways to make this technology even better. Over the next couple years, we will see the growth and direction that companies take to improve their data management. In the end, we know that software solutions will be the future of creating a more efficient supply chain.